So I wasn't kidding, right? Holy moly. How about this? So I've got a whole bunch of questions, but first of all, how long have you, just simply, how long have you guys been doing this as a duet? Just playing together like this? You have a regular monthly thing, yes?
Yes, but we met.
Actually, go on the mic if you don't mind.
Yes, we do, but we met quite a bit before. I would say somewhere around 2002 or thereabout. I thought you were going to correct me, like always.
No, I can't. The gig that we met on, we disagree about that gig because I said we met on a big band gig and you insisted we never did that. So,
I think you're hallucinating.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not going
but
to
it's
correct you
possible
on the,
that you're
on the
right.
date because you can't remember the gig.
Well, I remember the gig when we met. We just disagree on which gig that was.
What was the question?
I don't remember, but I love when it starts like this.
It became moot at some point.
But you now have a regular, steady, monthly thing, yes?
Well, if you can call monthly a steady, but technically.
All right, well, how long have you been doing that?
Technically, yes, we have a steady gig.
Okay, and you leave your stuff. You leave your stuff between gigs, or do you?
Yeah, of course. We'll leave it right there, so we can pick up.
No. So how long have you been doing that, and where is it? Just so that where I'm going with this is people might want to come see you.
Yeah, well, it's a private club, but if. But then
I see.
But then some people might be members. It's a University Club of Chicago, and we're there every first Friday of the month.
Well, there you go. So if you don't have if your membership has expired, go re-up your membership at the University Club, and then you can go see these guys.
And in fact, that gig served sort of as an impetus to make this live records.
Yes. So this is where I'm going next is. So you decided to make this live recording. You did it at the Jazz Showcase. So and it was again just this. By the way, let me interrupt myself and just say that I so love this format. You know, I did when I started thinking about the series. I was loving the idea of jazz duets and trios. And I say this often enough that those of you who are somewhat regulars here are probably sick of hearing this. But I really love this idea of just 2 or 3 people. Sometimes we break the rules. Sometimes we'll have a soloist or a solo artist or we'll have a larger ensemble. But I really love this 2 or 3 people and the musical conversations that go back and forth because you can sense how much it's as much about listening as it is, what you're hearing is what you're playing. And anyway, so thank you for being a perfect fit.
It's very, that format, you're right, it's very intimate, interactive, and cheaper.
Your self-effacing humor reminded me of a great line that I'd forgotten about. A friend of mine got up on stage and said, introduced himself and said, "I've spent years suffering for my art. Now it's your turn." So you're welcome. You can take that. So
I'm totally stealing it.
It's a great one, isn't it? So what prompted you to want to make a CD then of this stuff? Either of you?
Kelly can maybe answer a bit more articulately than me. I would just say, well, a desire to get deeper in debt. But
no one ever lets me talk over a microphone ever. This is like the first. My wife and daughter are both here. This is the first time they're probably freaking out right now that I'm actually talking on a microphone in public. We had some really good nights there, and we thought, wow, this would be good to share with people other than the fine members of the University Club, some of which would forget to listen during our performances. Who would forget? So we talked about it, and Zvonko put it together. And it's his baby, and I'm the babysitter.
And the king of mixed metaphors, but yeah, it just, since this thing has been going on for a while, I was just reminded of a thing that Al Franken once said. It goes something like, I've been married for 25 years, many of them happy.
Great. Great. I've completely lost what my next question was. Anybody have any questions out there? Spare me. Save me.
Well, we butchered all of them anyway.
I heard you say before it started that this is a new instrument for you.
Brand new.
And you said it takes a while. It would take a while for you to become familiar with it. It certainly didn't sound like that. But how long does it take until you feel comfortable?
So, and you know what, before you answer this, for people who may be tuning in, let me just repeat the question because they may not have heard. So the question was about this, how this is a new instrument and how long does it take to kind of get comfortable? And Kelly has an answer about how long it takes him to get comfortable.
Yeah. Until he breaks it. It's easy.
And now after that, I have to attempt a serious answer. You see what I have to live with. Yes, this is a brand new instrument. This is maybe the third gig I'm playing on it, and it's a lovely guitar. It's a Godin Fifth Avenue Jazz. Really nice, clean tone, and I enjoy it very much. In fact, it's going to become my main bebop guitar. The only thing that takes a bit of getting used to is each guitar has a slightly different scale and maybe different proportion of the body to the neck. So I'm still in the process of getting used to those subtleties, but it's otherwise it's a beautiful instrument and it plays really easy. So.
Well, it sure sounds great, especially in your hands.
Thanks for the question.
Speaking of breaking an instrument in and
he spoke about breaking an instrument
or breaking an instrument. No, but about just kind of getting used to jazz was not your first musical language, was it? Can you? And I don't want to put you on the spot. And please, if this, but I'm curious. When you were here last time, we talked a little bit about your personal path through into the U.S. and into jazz. So. Could you, for people who may not know, would you mind giving us
Well, certainly. I'm not sure how to answer that because jazz might be my first musical language in the sense of it being the first language that I studied with any degree of seriousness. But I sort of did everything late in life, musically speaking. So. I mean, just music in general, studying music in general. But then, where I was born, there weren't really any opportunities to study jazz, so it was a lot of hit and miss for quite a while until I got connected with some local musicians and started playing.
Which was where?
Novi Sad, what used to be Yugoslavia, today's Serbia. And in fact, the first educational materials, jazz-related educational materials that I ever saw in my life were the Jamie Aebersold play-alongs.
Oh, wow.
Which brings me to the totally lame plug to say that Mr. Aebersold just published a book of mine on jazz guitar harmony, which is sort of a, I don't know, an emotional moment given that, of course, unbeknownst to him, he was one of my first jazz influences.
Sure. And were you able to get his books back in Serbia?
Well, I was too poor to get anything, but there was one guy in town who would get a few books through a relative somewhere in Germany or so. I mean, the geographic paths those books took to reach Serbia could probably fill a volume.
It would be an interesting story right there, probably. Yeah, how many hands that went through. You also, correct me if I'm wrong, but my wife is Hungarian, and I remember having a conversation about Hungary. You spent some time in Hungary as well, did you not? Did you not study there?
I studied at the Liszt Academy in Budapest.
Ah, okay. And how did that come about?
Well, in the early 90s, let alone musicianship, but breathing became difficult at my place of birth, so I sought greener pastures.
And so you wound up in Hungary, and then how did, and then from Hungary to here?
Not directly. I lived in Holland, in Amsterdam, for a few years, and then a year in Hanover, Germany, and I got here in 2000.
Oh, wow. Wow, what a path. Well, we're awfully glad you're here. You really are about that.
Likewise.
And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have Kelly here. This is such a delight to have Kelly Sill here. This is really, I'm really, really grateful. Any other questions before I let these guys have a much deserved break, and they'll come back and play a lot more music. But anybody? All right. Just a quick reminder, next week we don't have a show. I'll be on spring break on the beaches of Cancun. No, not at all. In fact, I'll be going to Hungary.
Cool.
Which is another story. So no show next week. The week following, we will be here with our 100th show with Paul Marinaro. We're still kind of working on some details of what is going to be there, but I think it's going to be a really great show. So that's the week after next. And remember, Tuesday nights, Chicago Jazz Live on WDCB. And what else? Thank you so much for coming, for supporting live music, for supporting this series. It really means the world to us. And thanks to these fine gentlemen. Please do stick around. It's not the end of the evening. Brief break. They'll be back to play a lot more music.
And the CDs are over there.
Absolutely. I'm remiss for not reminding you. The CDs are over there. Please come and check them out.
This was subtle.
Thanks, guys.